I feel like you can take a quick glance at most comic book villains and understand very clearly why they hate the hero. Lex Luthor hates Superman because he's everything he can never be. Sabretooth despises Wolverine for never embracing the void they both share. And the Joker wants to prove to Batman that all it takes is one bad day to end up just like him. But when it comes to the rivalry between Aquaman and Black Manta, I've never really quite known why they've been rivals. So delving into Aquaman comics, something I never thought I'd ever do, to be honest with you, I progressively became more and more fascinated and baffled at this man's reasoning and dedication to his hatred for Aquaman. Like, say, I don't know, Black Manta murdering an entire fish market at the mere mention of his name. Reading this, I was instantly compelled to understand why a man like Black Manta would hate Aquaman to such a degree that he'd murder people that have absolutely nothing to do with the rivalry, only to be further dumbfounded at what this guy has done to Aquaman and his loved ones over the years. It's so ludicrous, in fact, I figured I could talk about it for a video of its very own, especially in spite of all the people that asked how they could help me in comic book shops, where I'd then politely ask to see where the Aquaman stuff was, just for them to reply with the same Aquaman that exudes surprise, pessimism, and a pinch of disappointment. And to the one guy who said there's nothing special about Black Manta, fuck you. With that said, I'm just gonna tiptoe through Black Manta's most significant moments in his publication history, break it down, add a couple of jokes, and some other third thing that leaves you entertained enough to stick around up until the end. Let's get it. In regards to the Silver Age stuff, I really think it's the best that Aquaman has really ever been in the comic space, especially when it comes to the rivalry between Aquaman and Black Manta. It shines the most during this period, because Black Manta is introduced well into Aquaman's comic as a longtime rival that seeks the destruction of Atlantis just because he hates Aquaman for a reason that's never established, in which he fires a full-scale assault on Atlantis by deploying numerous mantas he's had stored upon his manta ship. It makes sense. But when that initial assault fails, he plugs a big-ass vacuum into the dome of Atlantis in efforts of draining the city of all of its water to kill the entire city's population. This is unfathomable levels of Silver Age that is just fucking impeccable. At which point, instead of Aquaman evacuating Atlantis before the city dies without water, Aquaman instead works with his right-hand science man named Volca to develop a potion that could allow the people of Atlantis to become air breathers, yet refuses to give the same potion to his child, wishing for him to remain a pure Atlantean, which will have consequences in the foreseeable future. Thus, Aquaman tries to stop Black Manta numerous times, but Black Manta is a character that's shown to always be 10 moves ahead in any interaction or conflict he has with Aquaman. Enough so that Black Manta could swoop in while Aquaman would be distracted caring for the people of Atlantis and kidnap Aquaman's son called Aquababy. I'm not even kidding, that's his name. Aquababy. Black Manta now holding Aquababy hostage unless Aquaman would be willing to give himself up and suffer his wrath. With no other choice, Aquaman gives in to Black Manta's demands and lets himself be captured. But in the midst of the trade, Aquababy is intercepted by Ocean Master, and Black Manta's plan to murder Aquaman to death goes terribly wrong, leading Aquaman to reunite with Aquababy while Ocean Master and Black Manta would fight over who has the right to murder Aquaman more than the other, I guess. So going forward from here, what I gathered in terms of how Black Manta was written inside of Aquaman comics was that no one quite knew what to do with him yet. So writers would mainly just use Black Manta as a plot device for Aquaman to beat up and gather information about the goings-on of Atlantis. An instance that I can cling to was when Aquaman's wife Mera was kidnapped, and Aquaman stumbled upon Black Manta figuring he was responsible for it. Black Manta had absolutely zero clue as to what happened with Mera, but a quality about Black Manta I noticed and quite like is that even knowing nothing, Black Manta will use any excuse he can to fight Aquaman. This man never ducks a fade from the guy he hates more than anything ever. So when Aquaman and Black Manta go at it in a fight, they'll usually always be pretty evenly matched, but almost always when Black Manta ends up backed into a corner, he'll have an ace up his sleeve that can allow him to weasel out of the fight while also pathetically taunting Aquaman and adding that the next time they meet he won't be so merciful or whatever. Because when all else fails, rage bait until the end. So does Aquaman save Mera, you might ask? Well, she's right here the next time Aquaman and Black Manta cross paths, so I'll let that speak for itself. Now, trust me when I say this. I don't think anything in Black Manta's history of evilness made my jaw drop more than when I began reading Adventure Comics number 452, because it's probably the most despicable act he's ever committed ever onto Aquaman. So, in case you're not paying attention, this is Aquababy's final appearance, guys. He dies in this issue. Black Manta has already captured the ones that Aquaman holds most precious, and pits Aquaman against Aqualad to the death for the chance to walk out with Aquababy alive. But that if they don't fight each other, Black Manta will suffocate Aquababy to death. Black Manta, what the fuck is wrong with you? This issue also contains one of the funniest face reveals I think I've ever read. Your people? You mean surface dwellers? No, I mean exactly what I said. My people. Or have you ever considered why I'm called Black Manta? Black Manta's like, who were you expecting? Peter Benchley? And I had to look up who Peter Benchley is. And he's the guy that wrote Jaws. Of course, I'll be happy to press the button to replenish the water as soon as one of you lies dead on the arena floor. And I love how Aqualad is like Aquaman? Aquaman's face is like, you're not worth the life of my son at all. He's not giving like, I don't want to do this. He's giving like, my mind is already made up and I'm going to fucking kill you. The fucking fish behind Aquaman is even like, kind of giving an expression like, damn. This issue was one of the most action-packed, high-stakes comics I think I've ever read, and I can understand now why this sent shockwaves when it came out. Because this was about the time the mold of the Silver Age was just about breaking, and this comic is pretty much the sledgehammer demolishing it completely with the craziest death in all of comics. Ah, fuck. There's hatred in the world, there is injustice, prejudice, corruption, but none of these matter anymore. Not to a once compassionate hero whose soul now sees only anguish and a dark fury that cries to be fulfilled. Come on, Minnow. Topo can take care of Arthur's body. Fuck. Fuck, dude. Now, it'd only be after the turmoil of Aquababy's death that Aquaman's life would shatter completely. Aqualad grew to hate Aquaman for almost murdering him. Mira would despise Aquaman with every fiber of her being for allowing their baby boy to die, to the point of them almost killing each other. And from this unending despair, Aquaman abandoned his kingdom and ran away from everyone he ever loved to be a hero on the surface. Because Black Manta killing Aquababy made Aquaman grow to hate the one place he'd always belonged. The Seven Seas. And the craziest part about it all, it was an accident. Black Manta never actually intended to suffocate Aquababy to death, and chose to let everyone else believe that it was intentional, and that he was this cold-blooded killer. After which, Black Manta's sanity began to slip, as he felt no true triumph in destroying Aquaman's life because he killed his son by mistake. So for Black Manta to feel triumph, he wanted Aquaman to hate the sea as much as he did. A curdling hatred that started when Black Manta was only a boy who loved the sea, only to be held captive on a boat by some royal bums that would leave him starved for days on end, while forced to endure the most obscene indignities imaginable. All the while, the cold, heartless sea that he loved so much stared back at him and did nothing. At which point, Black Manta learned how to survive and kill those he hated on his own, leaving all but one thing left: the sea, until he crossed paths with Aquaman and projected all of that hatred of the sea into him. One man that, while he'd maybe not be able to kill, could instead kill aspects of, as in his marriage, the murdering and desecration of his son, his home, his reputation, and his family, destroying so many aspects of Aquaman's life until the man would finally snap from having nothing left and bear as much a hatred of the sea as Black Manta's. Witnessing the deconstruction of Aquaman firsthand, Black Manta would relish in the fact that he'd finally broken Aquaman, in turn killing the sea in his own warped mind. Yet blinded with the true triumph victory he'd been seeking his whole life, Aquaman would command surgeonfish to pierce through his suit, and in gasping for what little air was left inside his helmet, in Black Manta's dying words, he'd state that it was beautiful to be without hatred, even if it was for a moment, before the seas consumed his hatred as swiftly as they consumed him. Damn. One would say that that was pretty deep. Yeah, I'll kill myself. Anyway, after this, Black Manta doesn't really appear again for a while until Aquaman goes to the absolute depths of the sea, only to bump into Black Manta as an actual manta. Yeah, okay, sure. Which is just never explained, as is them both running into fucking Cthulhu. Yet before any of this shit can even be processed, Black Manta is whisked away as the comic just moves on to the next thing, alongside a brand new retelling of Black Manta's origin, taking place in Arkham Asylum as a boy. This is set before escaping his life being tortured by the sea. Black Manta was taken into Arkham to be rehabilitated, yet Arkham staff had no idea how to properly care for Black Manta and his severely undiagnosed autism. So when he'd wear clothes, Black Manta would experience excruciating pain, while water felt like heaven on earth. Yet the staff, unable to figure out how to properly treat him, they would often stoop to smothering Manta to sleep, finding no solution that could help Manta except throwing him in a tub of water. The staff of Arkham subjected Manta through many rigorous experiments until one day, through shock therapy, Manta's head was cleared, with Manta's first act with a clear mind being the murder of the doctor that quote-unquote successfully rehabilitated him, bringing us to the present where, after a pretty one-sided fight with Aquaman, in defeat, despite all Manta had ever taken from him, Aquaman would choose to be the better man and look past it all, using his Aqua Hand that he acquired after his hand was chopped off and turned into a magical healing water hand to revert Black Manta back into a human. But that wasn't all Aquaman did. No. As it turns out, Aquaman's Aqua Hand cured Black Manta of his autism, which Black Manta claims was the precursor for his hatred toward Aquaman, in which Black Manta becomes an ally to Aquaman against some unimportant villain named the Thirst, saving Aquaman countless times to the point Aquaman lets go of his hatred and forgives Black Manta, stating that it was in fact the autism that made Black Manta evil. But now that Black Manta is rid of his autism by his Aqua Hand, he's become a good man. Oh, this comic is so fucking bad. Yet just as Aquaman beats the Thirst and his back is toward Black Manta shoots Aquaman in the back, to which Aquaman, feeling complete betrayal, says, "But I cured the autism. I know I did." After which Aquaman turns his Aqua Hand into an Ice Hand and beats the ever-living dog shit out of Black Manta. At which point, Black Manta regrets betraying Aquaman, stating that he only had an autism relapse. And here again. Well, I don't want to take sides in a family dispute, but I think I've had a relapse, Arthur. If you heal me, I promise I'll be good. Really. Anyways, in later comics, he's not too notable, other than a brief story arc where he convinced people in the underwater city known as Sub Diego that Aquaman was racist. But as Aquaman comics went on and on, just as their rivalry to ad nauseum, one day it just came to an end. See, Aquaman, in attempts to return Sub Diego to the surface, Aquaman had made a deal with some sea gods to give him the power to accomplish this task, in turn becoming a vessel for an evil entity called the Dweller until his dying day. Thus, Black Manta was left against a pale imitation of his arch nemesis, leaving Black Manta struggling to really find a reason to hate anything any longer.
I love the tone of how I recorded that line, because it makes it sound like it's a fucking bad thing.
Till the fucking shark ate his head off, after which a few more comic events occurred, with Black Manta nowhere to really be seen until after the Blackest Day event, subsequently leading into the Brightest Day event, where a handful of dead heroes and villains came back as White Lanterns. Kind of, with one of the heroes returning being Aquaman.
He died off screen fighting Condiment King. Whatever.
When Aquaman returns, Mera reconciles with him, as they protect the people of the sea and the surface from each other. Yet, in the midst of this great and wet return, using his telepathic fish powers to stop a group of pirates, Aquaman discovers that he can only summon dead sea life, as he did when he was a Black Lantern. But after stopping the pirates, in a local fish market residing in good old Westport, Massachusetts, Black Manta carves away at some fish peacefully, until he hears a news report of his op's grand return, alongside an old man offhandedly saying to Manta, "Amazing, isn't it? Aquaman's back." Thus, Black Manta murders the entire fish market, blows up the life he made for himself, and bursts from the waters with his hatred reborn. It's later, when the story progresses further, that Aquaman discovers through Mera that her people had a role to play in Black Manta's hatred for the sea, and that Mera was originally sent by her people to assassinate Aquaman during his time as King of Atlantis. But because Aquaman was such a good man, Mera folded instantaneously. Aquaman feels no different about Mera after her confession, or maybe just has no time to, because Aquaman receives White Lantern flashes of a boy with the words, "Find him before they do." This boy, named Jackson, mysteriously has the ability to manipulate water exactly like Mera and her people, yet was forced to hide his abilities his whole life to keep from someone ever finding him. I think you know where this is heading, so I'll just rip off the band-aid real quick and tell you that Jackson is the son of Black Manta, which I already knew, and that was really attributed to how much I loved the Young Justice show as a kid, although I didn't think that that was canon until when I was actually reading it. But with Jackson's powers growing more powerful as a teenager, Jackson's surrogate father would lead him to a chest containing answers to his past. Only before Jackson could open the chest, Black Manta and Mira's evil sister Siren, who conveniently wears the color red to signify she's the evil sister, would stand in the way as Black Manta would reveal himself as Jackson's psychotic, sadistic, and slightly autistic deadbeat dad, almost killing Jackson's surrogate father if not for Aquaman arriving just in time to stop them. While forced to tolerate Black Manta's vile remarks during their fight, like recounting the noise Aquababy made when he gut him like a fish. I guess that means Aquababy's death is now changed from suffocation to stabbing, so again, I can't help but ask, Black Manta, what the fuck is wrong with you? Eventually, Aquaman throws Black Manta into an oncoming semi-truck and promptly leaves in the same semi, as Black Manta licks his wounds and plans for round 2. So while Aquaman and Jackson go on a treasure hunt to discover why Jackson's so important, it's along their journey that they discover Jackson's true name is Calderon. Calder sees his mother's face for the first time, and learns the very nature of his existence, that being a bridge between Mira's people long imprisoned in the Bermuda Triangle and the rest of the world. The reasoning for their imprisonment, if you're curious, is that they really just want to kill everything. Calder, you can imagine, is reluctant to embrace his destiny because he's just a kid after all. However, when Aquaman shares his backstory to Calder of how he was hunted by Atlanteans at about his age for being the rightful heir to the throne and instead became Aquaman under essentially the same circumstances, it motivates Calder to step up with the confidence that whatever comes their way, they'll face it together. Surely enough, they face off against Siren's army and Black Manta, and while at first they get their asses handed to them, enough that Black Manta chops off Aquaman's hand, Calder does bravely stand tall against his father to save Aquaman, demanding to know why Black Manta would align himself with the people that would kill his wife and only son rather than stop them, to which Black Manta coldly replies that his wife and son never mattered, only his hatred, at which point Mera arrives in the nick of time to save Aquaman and Calder, by creating a massive tsunami that had flushed Black Manta, Siren, and her army back to the depths of the Bermuda Triangle, where Calder could use his powers to open the gateway and seal them all away forever, as Black Manta would swear to Aquaman that he will find a way out, and that when he does, Black Manta will stop at nothing but to kill Calder right in front of him. This man hates Aquaman so much that he'd vow to kill his one and only son in front of him. Black Manta might just be the father of the year. Wait, what are you doing here? Are you doing what I think you're about to do? Don't do it. Don't. No!
Oh, Mullet-Man, I'd sure like to know what happened to Black Manta when the new 52 happened. Oh, please.
I'm not doing that shit anymore. I'm fucking done. I'm done.
You never let anything stop you before. You're 737,000 subscriber Mullet-Man Comics, verified on YouTube, most ultimate villain ever.
I don't fucking care anymore about fucking subscribers or fucking views. I just want to live.
Oh. Alright.
Fine. I'll fucking talk more about it.
You're gonna talk about villains again? Yay! Yay! Yay!
Well, not much about Black Manta really changed other than his origin to make the character more sympathetic. By writing his origin so that when Aquaman's father died from a heart attack, Aquaman assumed he was murdered by Black Manta. So Aquaman, in search of revenge, killed Black Manta's father in cold blood, sparking their vicious rivalry. Which leads into Amanda Waller constantly approaching Black Manta to work for the Suicide Squad, believing he'd be a perfect candidate, to which Black Manta's only request before joining being the death of Aquaman. It's a request Amanda Waller can't fulfill, but Waller does pose a very good question to Black Manta, that even if Black Manta were to accomplish his goal in killing Aquaman, what would he be then without that mission? A question that is swiftly answered after the crime syndicate swoops in, supposedly killing the Justice Justice League, including Aquaman, leaving Black Manta without a true purpose until Ultraman decided to push the moon in front of the fucking sun, subsequently leading to the desecration of his father's grave, leading into Black Manta playing a role in stopping the crime syndicate, in which after saving the world, Black Manta thought, what the hell, I've got nothing better to do, I'll join the Suicide Squad, in which Waller did sort of a very warped but extremely nice thing for Black Manta, in that she gave him a special helmet that could project the image of Aquaman over everyone Waller wanted dead, acting as the perfect motivator for Black Manta to stay on the team and always take joy in killing those deserving or not. And I wish I could say that Black Manta's story ended here, but it doesn't, because Black Manta dips out of the team, and if I'm being honest, sort of fades into obscurity for quite a while with an aura moment every now and again. Then Black Manta got a solo series, which acted as an attempt to make Black Manta something resembling a superhero that involved Black Manta facing the unforeseen consequences of his hatred, which was indirectly inspiring the creation of another villain named Devil Ray, a guy that, while working for Black Manta, thought he was fighting for something other than to kill Aquaman, thus viewing him as the years went on as an absolute fraud. Beyond this, Black Manta is split-splotched throughout different comics like fighting Sonic or some other bullshit, but to end off this video, I want to briefly talk about why I mess with Black Manta. And it's that, in despite of Black Manta just being a regular guy in a suit of armor trying to kill a sea god, it's the kind of thing where I actually root for the guy to win. It's an impossible task, but one that doesn't deter Black Manta at all. And it's not just that perseverance to kill and ruin Aquaman that makes him interesting. It's also just so refreshing to see a villain actually be a deplorable piece of shit just because. Black Manta's an absolute hater, and I can't help but respect it. I really just want to say that reading Aquaman was an experience. I'm not gonna LARP and say I read absolutely everything and loved it, but from what I did read, which was a bit, I really did enjoy it. I personally think Aquaman works really well when a writer comes along that embraces the campy nature of the character and the world around him to the series' benefit. Kinda like how Keith Giffen or Sean McLaughlin wrote Aquaman. Yet either way you sell it, Aquaman is forever cursed to be the butt of the joke in the comic space, perhaps forever. So in the end, what did we learn? Don't knock it till you try it, always be yourself,
And if you can't beat them, kill the ones they care about.
I'll catch y'all on the flip side.